health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo. Welcome to another episode of Chill Will Radio, man, here at the Good News Radio Station. Man, thank you all for tuning in. My name is Willis Cooks, and we're here with Chill Will Radio. What are we talking about here on this radio show? Where we're talking about all things mental health. Mental health within the black community, right? We're speaking the truth when it comes to this mental health thing. It's real conversation with real folks speaking real things, man. So once again, thank you to all those who are tuning in. Thank you to those individuals that are tuning in from the beginning. Thank you to those individuals that will be tuning in mid-show. And also thank you to those individuals who haven't tuned in at all because they haven't caught on yet. But you will catch on eventually. So, what are we talking about today? The topic of today. Well, the title of today's show is Christmas Guilt, right? It's the holiday season. Christmas is what? A week away? 2 weeks away? One of those, but Christmas is around the corner. And I can say myself, I have personally been feeling guilty a little bit when it comes to this Christmas thing. And this guilt that I personally have sometimes happens every year around this time. So, that's what we're going to speak about today, right? The Christmas guilt, buying presents, being alone on Christmas, what else? Dysfunctional families, because we all have those holidays to where it's like, I do not want to go to Aunt Sherry's house, whoever Aunt Sherry is, but I do not want to go over there because they be wildin'. So that's what we're talking about today here on Chillwood Radio, man. But quick little check-in. How am I doing? How was my week? And all of that good stuff, man. The week was actually very, very good, man. I feel like I'm getting back into my habit, back into my routine. It's ironic because we'll speak about that during the self-care piece, but I feel like I'm getting back to, the things that I used to do. I had failed off when it comes to working out. I'm very, very big on working out. That's one of the things, that's one of my own personal self-care things. It's a part of my self-care regimen. One of the things that I use in order to help calm me down and not keep me as aggressive. I'm a very aggressive individual, so when I don't work out, I get aggressive, right? I'm not going to get aggressive physically, right, unless I go there, or unless somebody takes me there, but I get very aggressive in my tone, and due to the work that I do, with me being a therapist and with me working with psychiatric patients and people who are suffering from mental illness such as schizophrenia and depression and bipolar and borderline personality disorder and all of these different mental illnesses, I can't be aggressive with them, right? I can't, my tone can't be aggressive. I have to be able to come in and out with it. So working out is something that helps me a lot with it. It also calms me down. My brain doesn't shut off. And I'm sure a lot of us deal with that, right? Our brain just doesn't shut off. My brain does not shut off. Even with me right now talking, even though I'm talking right now, my brain is literally going 100 miles an hour. What am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? So working out is that one thing for me that, allows me to slow down because I have to focus on getting that weight off of my chest. If I don't focus on getting that weight off of my chest, it's going to fall on my chest, it's going to smack me in my chest or throat, and I'm going to be out of here. We ain't trying to have that, but that's what working out does for me. And I fell off of it because I was caught up in the things that I was doing. Whether it's, I I'm recording every episode of these now. So I'm also editing the videos on my own. After Effects graphics with it. I was planning some other things, and I was just not sleeping. I was probably sleeping about 2 to 3 hours every night, and then I have to get up and go to work 8, sometimes 6:30 in the morning, and then I'm working 8 to 14-hour days, and I just wasn't getting any sleep. But my mind was, I have to get back to this. I have to get this done. And I forgot about myself. I got so worried about making sure this content, gets done, that I forgot that, hey, I got to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, the things that I'm doing here on this radio show may not be as good, right? And I also don't want to be a hypocrite, right? I'm a very selfless person, but selfless people have a problem with being selfish, right? Sometimes it's hard for me to take care of myself when it comes to certain things, and when I get caught up in something that I'm trying to do, it's like manic, right? When we get very, very manic, and we all sometimes have those manic episodes, it may not be to the point of where you need a diagnosis and you have to, go see a therapist or something like that to help you out with it. But, sometimes we get manic. Sometimes we get too focused in whatever that we're doing that we forget about ourselves. We forget about ourselves. And, that's what I did, and I fell off of the horse, so to say, because I stopped working out and I wasn't getting any sleep, and I don't really like food like that, so I wasn't really eating as well. The only way I would remember to eat is if I get a headache, that's completely unhealthy, but that's also something I have to get back into, right? Eating regularly, right? Because you forget about yourselves, right? But understand this, it's okay to really fall off of the horse, like I said, right? We all get to a certain point in our life to where we get so caught up in what we're doing that we lose focus on that individual, which is yourself. We lose focus of the star player, right? You gotta remember, man, you're the point guard when it comes to your life. You are the point guard. You're the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. You're the trainer. You are the head coach, the assistant coach, you're everything when it comes to your life. So when we get so caught up in everything that we're doing, we like, as long as I'm alive and breathing, as long as I'm not bleeding or no crazy pain, I'll be good. But nah, I say this all the time. We have to make time for ourselves. We have to make time for our bodies, or our body is going to make time for us. And that usually means we're get depressed, panic attacks, anxiety attacks. We may end up in a hospital. Something is going to happen to where your body's going to be like, okay, you're tripping. I'm going to do something so you can sit down, right? But, it's okay to fall off of the horse. But once you fall off of the horse, once you fall out of your routine, get back on it. Get back on it and get back to doing what you were doing. Get back to that routine and understand that sometimes things need to be shaken up a little bit, in order for you to get back. But, outside of that, work was okay. I'm not having any real problems at work anymore. I think I had earlier, yeah. Within the first few episodes of the show, the radio show, I was telling you guys about how I was having problems at work with my manager not putting me on the schedule, and how I ended up cursing her out, and now it just seems like she's just scared of me for some odd reason, because she puts me on the schedule entirely too much now. So I have to tell her she got to back off a little bit. But, work is fine. Patients are fine. Everything is going well. Everything is going well. I can say at work the other night, the other day at work the other day in one of my groups, and this is the first time I make sure I never get too emotionally involved in none of the stuff that I'm doing, especially when it comes to work, because that's how you could get burnt out, right? But there are certain things that I just won't tolerate when it comes to certain situations, right? So whenever I'm running group therapy, I'll always make a disclaimer, like, yo, my only main rule within this group is that we do not overtalk anyone. Period. Why? Because I'm big on respect, right? I want to respect y'all. I want y'all to respect me, and we need to respect each other, because we know how it goes when, disrespect happens. Everybody going to get mad and angry. We ain't going down for none of that, right? So that's always the disclaimer that I say in every single group, in the beginning of every single group, right? Because I have to set the tone. But this particular group, mind you, I'm working with, it was teenagers. So from about 14 to 17, Yeah, from about 13 to 17. Working with teenagers, and I'm running this group. It's just a process group. We're just in there talking about our feelings, where we're at, stuff like that. The group was very simple, right? I just had a simple question, how are you feeling, and give me a goal for the day you could accomplish. Boom, right? It's like 40 people in the room, so we got to go through the group fairly quickly. And I go around, and it's just one kid. He tells me, I ask him, okay, how you doing? He's like, he's fine. Then he tells me, I ask him, okay, give me a goal for today you actually can accomplish. He said, I have no goal. Okay, the one thing I'm not going to allow in none of my groups, I'm not going to allow kids to just skate on by and say, forget it, right? I'm going to push them, right? Everybody. So he tells me, like, hey, I don't have a goal. I'm like, all right, bet. We all have goals. We just may not be aware that we have goals. So I ask him, like, okay, what are you here for? He tells me he's here because what did he say? He told me he's here because his teacher gave him too much work at school, so he told the school counselor that he was going to kill himself. Because he told the school counselor that he was going to kill himself, they have to take the protocol. They have to put him on a 5585, which is a involuntary hold, so he has to be held within this hospital for at least 72 hours, right, to just monitor him and to make sure everything's good, right? So he tells me that, he's there because he told the school that he was going to kill himself because the teacher gave him too much work. All right, so when he says that, somebody else in the group, another guy, yes, it was a dude, another guy in the group laughs, right? So when he laughs, that immediately like triggered me, right? The reason why that immediately triggered me, and mind you, I didn't like curse him or the group out like, fuck y'all, woo, 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 woo. But that immediately triggered me because it's amazing how, and this is a part of mental illness that a lot of people probably wish would stay away from, but it happens all the time within the hospitals and at my work. There are individuals who are serious about suicide, who are really trying to kill themselves every single day. But then there are individuals who say, "Hey, I want to commit suicide just so they could get away from school, just so they won't have to do all of the work." Right? They use that as a scapegoat to get away from whatever they're going through, right? And they play around with it. They never ever actually meant it. They never think about it. It's just, hey, I can say this so I can get away from the situation, so I'm finna just act like I'm thinking about committing suicide. So when that individual laughed, I had to like kill the whole group. I'm like, yo, what we're not about to do here in my group, what y'all do in other groups is other groups, but what we're not about to do in my group, y'all not about to sit here and make a mockery and laugh at those individuals who, have attempted suicide, who have thought about attempting suicide. Why? Because even though y'all kids may be playing around with it, maybe playing around with it, maybe using it as a joke, using it as a scapegoat to get away from doing schoolwork or to get away from doing chores or whatever the case may be, because mom took a game. Y'all may be using it as that. There are other individuals here within this room that literally try to kill themselves all the time. There are literally individuals in this room who really are out here trying to kill themselves, right? Slitting wrists, cutting themselves, jumping in front of cars, doing all of these things. There's kids in here that try to do that, so I'm not going to allow y'all to disrespect those individuals just because y'all take it as a joke, right? And that I had to sit back and reflect on that moment because I felt myself getting hot. I felt myself, my skin was boiling because it's like I take stuff like that serious, right? I take it serious when those individuals say they want to kill themselves and they're serious, but I also make it a point to put those individuals on Front Street who are saying I want to kill myself, but are just saying it just because they want to run away from whatever nonsense it is. And 9 times out of 10, it's stupid. Like, I don't want to do work in school, or I can't watch TV at a certain time, so I'm going to throw a fit, and then I'm going to say I'm going to kill myself. Or I just want to get to the hospital and get away from my parents. It's kids and it's people that do that, like, play with it all the time. And that's something that, I don't fuck with at all. I don't. So, like, within that was the first time that I actually had to, like, really put them kids in a place. Like, yo, this is what we not finna do, right? Like I said, I ain't curse them out, woo, 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 but, like, they didn't like the side of what they came out within that group. But outside of that, the week was cool. Work was cool. I'm getting back into my groove. So, man, everything is fine. So, I see somebody tapped in. Who tapped in? Keith, what's the deal? Everything works. Thank you, man, for coming by, fixing everything. I didn't mention this, but I'm in the studio right now with the pink silky on. I got people making fun of me. Keith said I look like what do you say? Pootie Tang. Said I'm in here looking like Pootie Tang with the pink douche rag on. But, hey, man, it's even more of a reason to wear it, man. If somebody doesn't like it, go ahead and do it. But moving into the self-care piece, man, it's ironic that the first part I was talking about me getting back into my routine, right? But for this self-care piece, I want to talk to you guys about it's important to switch up your routine every now and then, right? It's very important to switch up your routine every now and then because routines are very, very good, right? It allows us to follow a schedule, right? Some people need to be structured. Some people need a structured life. Okay, cool, right? So it's important for us to have that routine, but that routine can be bad because we're going to follow that schedule for so long that, we're just going to be running on autopilot. And if we're just going to be running on autopilot, we're just going to be doing things for the sake of doing them, right? We're not really doing things to benefit us, but we're really just doing things just do it, right? How many of you all wake up and the first thing y'all do is just grab your phone and look at it? Y'all don't even get out of the bed. Y'all just grab your phone, look at it, right? Some people get up, brush their teeth, get in the shower, boom, 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 right? That's their normal morning routine. They take the same route to work every day. They do the same stuff or whatever. And that's going to cause someone to just get complacent, right? Get comfortable. Because, yes, it's comfortable, but everything that's comfortable isn't good for you, right? So one of the reasons why it's important to switch up your routine is because, one, your day will be boring. And if your day is going to get boring, then you're not really going to be operating at the fullest capacity that you probably can be operating at, right? So you're going to need to switch it up so you can kind of, lighten things up, so you can kind of get refocused, right? So you can do all of those things because it's easier to do things out of a habit than to do things in order to get some type of gain from it, right? Because if we're doing things to get any type of gain from it, it's going to be a little difficult, right? It's going to be a little uncomfortable. We always run away from the uncomfortable things, from the uncomfortable stuff. So the habit or the routine that we have, we're going to fall into it automatically because it is comfortable. And everything that's comfortable isn't good for you. And these habits that we may be having, sometimes we may not even know it, but these habits sometimes can be doing more harm to us than we think, right? They could be setting us up for something negative down the way, right? So it's important to switch up that habit. Key example, if you're an individual that always goes to Starbucks every single morning and you're trying to cut that habit, right? If you're an individual that always goes to Starbucks every morning and you're trying to cut caffeine, right? You're trying to take out the caffeine, you're not trying to do that. Some people would still go down that same route, right? Go down that same route and have to pass up the Starbucks every day. Every time you come across that Starbucks, you're going to think. You don't even have to see it, but you know that you're approaching it. So what your brain is going to do is start to think about it over and over and over. Why? Because you built up that habit in your brain. Right now, your body is just functioning because it knows that's what we do before we get to work. Right? So it can be hard. But in order to get away from going to the Starbucks, switch up the drive to work. Don't drive that route. It's a bunch of different routes we can take to work. Don't drive that route there that the Starbucks is on. Don't. Because if you don't see it, you're not going to think about it. You may think about it that first day or second day, but that third, fourth, fifth day, out of sight, out of mind. Because you're not seeing it in the morning, every morning on your way to work, coffee isn't there. Starbucks isn't there. So you're going to crack that caffeine habit that you're trying to do. You're going to save you some money. You're going to do some of these things to help you get back on track. So switch up that route. Whatever it is, switch up something to shake up your system, right? Because life is going to shake up our system, period, right? If you're not doing things that are uncomfortable, you're not really growing, right? If you're not doing things that are uncomfortable, you're not really growing because one of the ways to grow is to do things uncomfortable, right? flowers have to go through soil, right? They have to go through something in order to grow, in order to bloom, all this good stuff, right? So switch up that routine, shake it up. It doesn't have to be drastic. I'm not saying go out here and do something ridiculous that's going to throw your whole thing off. Nah, do something small. If you brush your teeth with your right hand, brush your teeth with your left hand, right? Brush it with both hands. And you're going to start to notice that, hey, obviously it's hard to brush your teeth with your left hand, but what's going to happen when you start to do something different, you start to become more focused on that one thing that you're doing. Because like I said earlier, we do so many things out of habit, out of our routines, that we start to just function off of, we're just going on autopilot, right? We're not even thinking about what we're doing. We're just doing it because that's what we are accustomed to doing for X amount of time that we've been doing it. But if you do something small like brushing your teeth with your left hand instead of your right, watch. You're going to be so focused on it. You're going to realize how long it's taking, and you're not just doing it. You're going to make sure you get it right. It's going to be hard. It's going to feel weird, but your body is now being activated to something different. And because your body is being activated to something different, to something new, your body's going to learn from it, right? So switch things up, do something different in order to make sure that you're not just operating for the sake of operating and living your life on autopilot, because it can get boring, realistically. But moving into the main topic of the show today, right? Christmas guilt. Like I said earlier, Christmas is about 1 week, 2 weeks away, one of those. But Christmas guilt, right? Having a guilty conscience when it comes to these times. Some Thanksgiving as well. Shoot, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, especially Valentine's Day. Guys not getting that girl something, but we have that guilty feeling when it comes to it, right? For a few reasons. One, you may not want to get anybody a gift. You may not have the money to get anybody a gift, right? Your family may be wild. You may have one crazy ass dysfunctional family, and you do not want to go chill with the family during Christmas because when Uncle Steve, get a little of that yak in his system, Uncle Steve finna beat up Rob, and then you gonna have to go. You got Pam yelling at Oliver, and I don't know where I'm grabbing these days from, but you got all of this stuff going on, so you don't even want to deal with it, right? And then you got other people who literally don't have anyone, no friends, no girlfriend, no boyfriend, no family. There are people out here that literally live their lives on their own. So Christmas time isn't the one, because we put it out there that Christmas is about family and bringing everybody together and blah, blah, blah. It's going to cause that individual to be reminded of what they don't have. So they don't like that, Then you have also other individuals who, when Christmas come around, they are triggered because, say, growing up, they never had the typical Christmas, the tree with the family and blah. They never had that, so they just don't give a fuck about Christmas. Or something traumatic happened on Christmas Day or something around that time, so their view and their perception of Christmas is tainted because of what had happened, right? There's a lot of thing that goes on around these times that many of us may not think about, right? And I could just say me, on a personal level, I feel guilty when it comes to Christmas all the time. Why? Because I don't care for it. I give no fucks about it, right? Even if you look at the history of Christmas and Saint Nick and all of this other stuff, you're gonna be like, yo, this shit is really weird. That's off topic, but me myself, I don't care for it. Because one, I don't care for getting anybody any gifts. That's not because I don't care for you, but it's like I'm not the type of individual that's gonna operate and do things strictly because society has told me to do things. Why do I need to get somebody something on this day? And frankly, it's supposed to be Jesus' birthday, right? It's supposed to be, but it's supposed to be Jesus' birthday. What's the point of giving gifts on Jesus' birthday? Like, I don't understand that. And, there are other things such as like, I haven't had the best of Christmases, right? I can't even remember the last time I've had the regular Christmas where, like, it's the tree and people coming around and family. Like, I don't really have that. I've never really had that. I mean, I've had it for a few years growing up, but after moms died, and then as I got older, it was just like, nope, And then as you get older, you start to realize Christmas ain't really for you. Christmas for the little kids. It's for the family to get together and all these other things, but it don't really matter as you get older. So me, I'm still thinking like if I should get anybody anything, because everybody in my family, with the exception of my little nephew and my little niece, I need to grab her something too. But everybody in my family, with the exception of my little nephew and little niece, they all over 18. They all grown. Like, so, man, they good with some money. And I don't even know if I want to give them some money because I got plans with my money. So it's kind of like, what's the point? So for me, on a personal note, I don't really care for Christmas because of the fact that why should I give people things, right? But we got to figure out how we're going to deal with Christmas. How are we going to deal with this guilt that we have? How are we going to deal with the pressures and the feelings of guilt around Christmas? The pressure of giving gifts, the pressure of which house are you going to go to, right? Because me, I'm an individual that I go to everybody's houses. I don't have like a designated house I go to, like, oh no, I'm going to my boy house, I'm going to my homegirl house, I'm going to that house, I'm going to that house, I'm going to that house. What house do I go to, right? The pressures of all of that stuff, right? Also, one of the things we need to make sure that we do when it comes to, this feeling guilty when it comes to Christmas, understand that unrealistic expectations when it comes to a lot of these things, they will create stress, right? Be mindful that you can't do everything. You may not have the money to get everybody a gift, right? Your family may just be fucked up. And you expecting that, hey, last year was trash, this year is going to be good. The family ain't worked or seen anybody all year. So don't expect it to change much. And then when you get in there, you're thinking that it's going to be good. And the next thing you know, somebody get popped in the head with a bottle, or somebody get called a bitch, and it goes left. It happens at the most random moments, but it happens. Right? So don't have these unrealistic expectations. Maybe things just are because they are. Right? Christmas is this happy time for folks, but it's not a happy time for everybody. And there are ways to try to get through that, right? So I'm going to break it down, right? First part, I'm going to speak about the gift giving. Second part, I'm going to speak about dysfunctional family. And then I'm also going to speak about some of the things you could do when you're alone during Christmas, right? So for the first part, when it comes to gift giving, ask yourself, is it okay for that individual who you're giving the gift to? Do they really need it? Do they really need it? Right? Because a lot of times they don't need it. Right? You got some kids, and I'm like one of them. I just bought my nephew some clothes, but you got some kids who's gonna have a pile of clothes on Christmas. It is not gonna hurt that kid's soul if you don't get him any clothes. It is not going to hurt your 18-year-old if you get them, if you don't get them the shoes, or if you don't get them the Xbox or the PlayStation. A lot of the stuff that these folks want for Christmas, dog, they don't need it. Yes, they want it, but it's okay to not really have it if you don't need it, right? Period. Also, understand that if you are not able to get the gift right now, you have the whole year to get it. The whole year to get it. We get so caught up in I have to get this stuff today, on this day. When you forget, you got a whole other 365 that you can do to get that kid something. Bet. Like, you can. You got all the other holidays. You got all the other random days. You got the birthdays. Like, we put so much emphasis on I have to give somebody something this day. Right? When you could just wait and give it to them later, especially if you don't have the money. And that's one of the biggest things, right? A lot of individuals do not have the funds to get their son, wife, husband, daughter, whatever. They don't have the funds to get them what they need to get or what they would like to get for Christmas. But if you don't have it right now, that's fine. You'll have it eventually. Give it to them when you get it eventually. It's still going to come. They're still going to get it. And frankly, they are going to appreciate that gift even more because you're giving it to them on some random day, and it's going to surprise them. So that gift on a random day that's surprising is going to mean much more than that Christmas gift that they're expecting. but we don't want to put ourselves in a hole. That's what we do a lot of times, right? We put ourselves in a hole when it comes to Christmas. We just put it all on a credit card, and then we say, oh, I'm going to pay it off when I get, my refund check. But then when the refund check get here, you don't pay off the credit card. So now you got this increased credit card debt, and then you use the refund check on something else that don't really matter. Like, nah, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And it's okay to not have it, right? You don't want to set yourself up to where you're not able to pay your rent or your car note or the light bill or none of that when January get here. Because don't forget, it's 31 days in September? No, December. Where I get September from? It's 31 days in September. So you got December. Why I keep saying September? But you got 6 whole other days left for that year until rent gets here, right? Rent is due on the 1st, period. So just because Christmas gets here or whatever, make sure if you're going all out, make sure you do it at an early enough time to where you're able to plan it out. You're able to budget it. So when the bills get here, when the rent get here, you're not falling behind on it, right? And as always, we don't want to throw everything on a credit card because we always going to have to pay it back. So if you don't have it, it's okay to say you don't have it, period. It's okay. It's perfectly fine, right? Because that individual was living without that gift all the days before Christmas, and they're going to be perfectly fine to live without it all the days after Christmas. And like I said earlier, you have the whole year to get it. You have the whole year to get what you need to get it. So let's try to work at not stressing ourselves out when it comes to getting gifts. And if it is a priority for you to get the gift, plan it. You have the whole year to get the gift, but you also have the whole year to plan it. So Christmas is coming. So start planning it around August or September or whatever. If you know things are tight, plan it early. So that way it can be fine, right? Because the whole gift giving thing is we put a lot of that stress on ourselves. Self-inflicted stress. A lot of our stressors is self-inflicted because of it. So when it comes to gift giving, does that individual really need it? If it's a no, they can wait. Do you have the funds for it? That's the first thing. You got to be real with yourself. Do you have the funds for it? If you don't have the funds for it, cool. Don't even trip. And if you're not able to get that person a gift right now, you got the whole year to give it to them, right? Period. So don't stress yourself out when it comes to giving the gifts, right? Because they're going to forget about it anyway, right? When it comes to dysfunctional families, right? A lot of us have dysfunctional families. A lot of us have families to where it's like, my family is so ridiculous and stupid that I'm just going to work on Christmas because I don't want to deal with, that individual. So some of us may not want to do that, right? So when it comes to working with, when it comes to dysfunctional families and spending Christmas time with our dysfunctional family, the first thing you have to do is to understand is when you're going into that environment, when you're going to that household, first thing, understand is have that plan. Have that plan, right? And what I mean by having that plan is be strategic in who you're going to spend your time with, right? If you know Cousin Robert be tripping, don't go engage with Cousin Robert, right? And if you are going to engage with Cousin Robert, make sure it's limited, right? Limit that engagement so he won't stress you out, right? If you know if Cousin Rhonda or Aunt Rhonda is the gossiper of the family and you're not in the correct headspace to hear the gossip, don't really engage with Aunt Rhonda because she got all the news. You don't want to know all the news because she's going to tell you a bunch of negative things. And all of those negative things are going to crowd your mind and you're going to start thinking more negative, and that's just going to rock your little mindset. We don't want that to happen. So be strategic in who you engage with. Also understand and give yourself that permission to leave. Give yourself that permission to leave, right? How long are you going to stay there? Are you going to stay there for 10 minutes? Are you going to stay there for 30 minutes? Are you going to try to stay there as long as you can, and then once the nonsense starts to pop off, are you going to leave as soon as it starts to happen? Figure it out, right? Plan it, right? Set your agenda, plan that, and then plan your exit strategy when it does happen. How are you going to leave? How quickly you're going to leave, right? If that means you need to sit there and stay by the door, if that means you need to sit there and stay by the door, or do whatever so you can just get out real quick when a mess starts to happen, do that, right? Just because you have a dysfunctional family, that doesn't mean that you have to not attend the family functions. That just means you have to be mindful of how you interact with everybody. You have to be mindful of when you're supposed to leave, and you also have to be mindful of where you're at. Right? Be mindful of where you're at, because if you're not in the correct headspace, if you've been depressed lately, or your anxiety has been high, or you just feel very, very nervous when it comes to this, right? Don't interact with people who you know may heighten those, things that are up with you, right? Don't interact with those people. Don't engage with those individuals. Why? Because that's just going to make things worse for you, right? That's obviously going to make things worse for you, right? Also, another thing you have to always remember when it comes to these things, right? Remember what you're in control in, right? Remember what you're in control in. So if you know that you're going to this Christmas party, and you know that there's going to be alcohol there, and you know that if you drink alcohol, you're not going to be in the right headspace, don't drink alcohol. Don't, right? Drink some water, drink some soda. If you got people that are pressuring you to drink alcohol, shoot, grab some water, pour some water in that glass, and say it's vodka. Like, do what you have to do to not drink the alcohol, so you can be okay, right? So you can understand. So you can understand, what you can and can't do, so you won't set yourself up for failure. Period. Right? Interact with those individuals that are there, that are in the correct headspace, right? Because that's what you want to do, right? You want to get into that correct headspace. Like I said, just because that family may be dysfunctional and there may be a lot of problems going on, that doesn't mean that you have to get away from it. That just means you have to be mindful of how you move within that circle, right? That means you have to be mindful of where you're at. So please make sure you stay out of the way when it comes to the extra nonsense, right? Just like I said, if Aunt Rhonda is the gossiper of the family, stay away from Aunt Rhonda. Right? And understand, people are going to behave. People are going to. If you have two individuals who haven't been speaking the whole year, and you know that it's problems going on within that circle, if Aunt Rhonda doesn't get along with Aunt Pam, don't stand in the middle of it, right? Don't try to go back and forth, because what's going to happen is a lot of our families tend to try to bring us in. You want to be mindful of where you're at, so you don't get brought into the extra stuff that is going on within the family. It's always about being mindful of where you're at. I'm going to say that word a lot here within this show, because being mindful of where you're at within this environment is crucial. Because if you're not in the correct headspace to be able to fully, engage with these individuals and positively interact with those folks, even if you're maybe depressed or whatever, if you don't have those coping skills, or those tips or things that you have to do in order to get out, don't really interact with it, right? Don't really come around. Don't set yourself up for failure, right? Be real. Have that real conversation with yourself, right? And also, if you feel like you're not in a correct headspace to even go, it's okay to not go. It's okay to not attend that family function or that family dinner or whatever the case may be. If you want to back off and just go spend Christmas with just a select group of friends because their vibes are positive, right? They're happy. They're people that you want to be around. They're not depressed. They're not gossiping. They're not angry. They're not going to fight. If you don't want to be around your family because your family is full of negativity, and you want to be around this new group of friends that you have and they're full of positivity, it's okay. Do not feel guilty. Please do not feel guilty for looking out for yourself, for being mindful of yourself and going towards that positivity so you can be okay, right? Because that does not mean that you don't love your family if you don't go over there, but that just means I can't rock with where they're at the moment. So be mindful of where you're at, right? When you're going into these family functions and things are going to happen. It's important to have that exit strategy. It's important to have, those things that you're going to do, and be mindful of who you're going to interact with, who you're not going to interact with, how much time are you going to be there. Set it up. Miss Garrett, how are you doing? She said, yes, rent is due 6 days after Christmas. Discipline while spending is self-care. Oh, yes, definitely right? Discipline while spending in self-care. Yeah, discipline while spending is self-care, right? I spoke about earlier why it's important to kind of switch up your routine. Some of us may spend things just out of habit, right? So the routine that we need to switch up is not spending stuff, right? It's going to be uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to try to take on some form of discipline. very uncomfortable, but being disciplined in some type of area or field is always positive, right? So being disciplined in your spending and how you're going to do it so you don't set yourself up for failure when rent is due, go ahead, man. Do that. Also, last and not least, when it comes to Christmas, and if you're one of those individuals, and I can say me myself, there have been times where I spent Christmas alone, right? If you're one of those individuals that don't have the family, that, doesn't have the friends, or, don't really have anybody to spend Christmas with, and you're spending Christmas alone, it's really one main answer to get out of this, right? It's not really a magical thing. It's just, if you're spending Christmas alone and you're by yourself, just get up and find something to do. It could be anything. You want to get up and go for a run. You want to get up and buy yourself a gift. Give yourself something. Create your own Christmas. If you want to get up and go volunteer, go do that. If you want to go spend Christmas with your friends, that's another thing, right? Because sometimes we feel guilty at the fact that we don't have that typical Christmas that's on TV and all that other stuff, that white Christmas. We're going to say no to our friends that are inviting us to certain Christmas parties and things like that, because we don't want to go over there and they're all happy and I know I'm feeling bad, I'm kind of depressed, I'm not feeling good right now, so we're just going to sit at home and just be sad. No, I've said this in numerous shows. I'm going to say this today, and I'm going to say this in plenty of shows afterwards, right? One of the main things in order to get out of your depression or sadness or anything, right, is to get out of your head. You have to get up and move. You have to get up and do something. So if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling down on Christmas because you're alone, go to that Christmas party, right? Give yourself the ability to actually be happy. We don't give ourselves that ability to actually be happy. So go to that Christmas party. Go spend time with those friends. Go volunteer. Go give a gift away. Go do something, right? Because we speak a lot about how Christmas is about giving gifts and things like that, but you don't always have to give gifts to your family. No. Go give food out to the poor. Go Christmas caroling. Like, go do something, right? And do something for yourself. Do something for yourself, because if you're dealing with depression a lot, we have to get back into self, right? We have to be mindful and become mindful. We have to be mindful and be aware of where we're at. So that means, what are you going to do to start to take care of yourself? So giving yourself a gift on Christmas. Going to your favorite restaurant, going to be closed, but cook your favorite meal on Christmas, right? That one thing that you've been wanting, do that, right? And if you don't have no money, and if you have a credit card and you're going to spend some money on that credit card for yourself, and if it's going to make you happy, go ahead. Do it. Do what you have to do for the sake of yourself, period, right? So you can feel good, so you don't have to feel that bad, right? But if you're alone on Christmas, get up and go do something. Find something to do. Like, there's a lot of ways we can kind of flip it and change it, but I'm very honest and I'm very blunt. And one of the things that we have to be mindful of is just go do something, period. And it may be hard. Sometimes we may not have something there to do, but if we can't do something for others, do something for yourself. Make yourself feel good, right? So when it comes to Christmas and feeling guilty and things like that, understand, it's just one day out of the year. It's just one day out of the year. We have the whole year to worry about. So don't allow this one day to make you feel guilty, to cause your anxiety to go up, to be more stressful or nervous, and I don't want to go deal with my family because they're dysfunctional and all of these other things. Like, no, don't allow this one day don't allow this one day to drive you into debt. Don't allow this one day to make you miss rent. Don't allow this one day to cause you to spend time alone. No. Don't allow the day to do something. Understand this. You have more power than you do, right? So don't allow Christmas or the Christmas season or all of this stuff that people are putting out there to really make you feel guilty, to make you feel more stressed. No. You are in full control of everything that you have going on in your life. You're in full control of the stress. You're in full control of the anxiety. You are in full control of your guilt and all of those things. because you have the ability to do something to get yourself out of that hole. So when it comes to giving gifts, if it's not needed, if you don't have the money for it, if you can't afford it, if you don't really feel like they don't need it now, but they can get it later on in the year, don't worry about it, right? When it comes to dysfunctional family, if you're not in the correct headspace to deal with the family, it's okay to not go to the family dinner. But if you do go, please make sure you have that strategy in mind. Think ahead of time. Who am I going to engage with? How long am I going to engage with those individuals? If they start fighting, and when they start fighting, what am I going to do? What's my exit strategy? What can I do to make sure to get out of here? Do I even want to go deal with my family? Do I want to go deal with my friends? Go deal with the positive people. Go be with the friends. And if you're alone on Christmas, get up and go do something, man. Period. Get up and go do something. Please don't turn down the coworkers or the friends that are inviting you to dinner with them. Yes, it may feel kind of awkward to go spend Christmas with another family. I've done it before. I'm most likely going to do it this year. I do it every year. I've done it plenty of years before in the past, right? But if that individual is willing enough to invite you to spend time with their family, go do it, man. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to be ridiculous. It's going to help you get out of the house. It's going to help you be around some positive people. It's going to help you make sure that you get out of that guilt and that depression and that sadness and, all of those things that come with Christmas. Because Christmas ain't that good for everybody. But we can make Christmas good for ourselves. So, as always, the last part of the show, I always like to end it off with some form of a question. Right? Some form of a question. So today, the question I have for you all, right? How will you create Christmas for yourself? And mind you, it doesn't just have to be Christmas. How will you create Thanksgiving for yourself? How will you create Valentine's Day for yourself? How will you create anything for yourself? Period. Because you can create all of this stuff on your own. If you don't want to go deal with the family and have your own personal Christmas at home with you, your pet, your girlfriend, sit up your little tree, do that. If you want to have your own personal Thanksgiving dinner with you and your girlfriend and that's it, do that. If you want to, you create that Christmas, you create that day, you create that holiday, you create your peace. Be mindful of where you're at. Be mindful of the energy that you can create. And be mindful of the energy that you can't create. Right? Because you have more power than you think you do. Right? So, question. How do you create your Christmas? Man. So, first and foremost, thank you to everyone that is listening in. Keith, thank you. Didier, my man. Miss Garrett, man. Thank you for tuning in. Also, Miss Garrett, I really do appreciate the work that you're doing with everything that you're doing on Instagram and all that stuff. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. As always, man, remember, my name is Willis Cooks. It's your Chill World Radio, man. Ain't no wealth without your mental health, man. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be good, y'all. Peace.